Hello and welcome to the Profitable Coach Podcast. I'm your host, Kimberly Rich, and as the founder of the Bold Life Movement and a fellow coach for more than 7 years, I know the challenges that many of you face when launching or growing your coaching business. And I'm here to pull back the curtain on the coaching industry and help you overcome roadblocks to make the impact you were born to make. Each week, I'll be interviewing successful coaches from every corner of the industry to share exactly how they have managed to generate massive impact and income. From strategy to psychology, we cover it all. This show is presented to you by Transformation Academy, a global marketplace of courses and coaching certifications. So whether you are already part of our epic community or you're brand new to this show, if you're ready to learn what it takes to turn your passion for service into a profitable business, then keep listening. You are in the right place. Welcome back to episode 64 of the Profitable Coach Podcast. Today is a special episode because this is our first in a new series of interviews with our Impact Coaching Collective members. Today I have with me Lenny Hunt, and Lenny is a grief coach, a verified content creator, a TEDx speaker, and what makes Lenny really unique is that he blends empathy, healing with a practical understanding of how grief works using simple object lessons. He also brings in art projects and science experiments, and it's just a really unique and novel way to approach something that often feels really serious and really heavy. And because Lenny has such a creative outlook on his unique coaching methodology, it really pulls people in, and he's been able to garner a huge social media following and really position himself as an expert inside of our community. So without further ado, please welcome to the show, the one and only Lenny Hunt. All right. We are officially live. Welcome back to the Profitable Coach Podcast. This is our first ever live Impact Coaching Collective member interview with my friend, Lenny Hunt. Welcome, Lenny.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Kimberly, it's a joy to be here. I've wanted to do this with you for a long time. So thank you. Thank you.
This is super fun. I'm so excited that you said yes and that you're willing to take the brave step with us to be our first member-led interview. For anyone who's not familiar with Lenny's work, Lenny is a grief coach. He is a content creator, a TEDx speaker. He is someone who, has a really unique blend of empathy and healing, and also just like a practical understanding of how to move through grief with some really fun tools and techniques. So we're going to explore those a little bit today. Does that sound good?
Sounds good to me. Sounds good.
Amazing.
And I want to let you know too, it is great to sit here with a celebrity such as yourself. It truly is. Thank you so much.
You're going to make me blush.
Whatever. Let's go. Let's do it. Let's go.
Let's take it back all the way to the beginning. Tell me what first inspired you to become a coach. Where did you even learn about coaching?
Oh man. Well, I guess, let's go all the way back to what it is that happened to me and to why I chose coaching, and particularly grief coaching. Would that be okay?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So in 2011, January of 2011, I was in an automobile accident. And my boys, Dawson, who was 12 at the time, and Devin, who was 9 at the time, they both passed in the automobile accident. We got hit in the side, and they passed right there. I didn't lose consciousness, so I saw everything that had happened. Needless to say, my life changed at that point. But what happened there was I didn't have someone to guide me through my grief and everything that I was going through. I tried, group therapies, and I tried one-on-one counseling and psychiatrists and whatnot, but I wasn't receiving it very well. And ultimately started living a life that was not productive in any way. I lost my marriage, lost friends, family, all because I wasn't processing my grief correctly. I didn't have someone to walk me through it, is what I'm trying to say. And eventually I did. And I decided I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to be like this anymore. I want to be back to what I was before. And that's where my passion for coaching started to come through. I don't want to see people go through what I went through. And if I can help them with that, then that's a blessing to them and to me. If I can help keep them away from the ugly stuff.
You mentioned that you weren't moving through grief in the correct way. So are you willing to share a little bit about what the quote unquote ugly version of moving through grief is like? So people can recognize signs if they may be in that and they don't know.
Oh no, absolutely. That's what you brought something to the table that is, cow, I hate it. The phrase that there's no right or wrong way to grieve, right? Is that true? Sure, absolutely. Because everybody grieves differently, but I can't go knock over a grocery store, right, and say, well, I did it because I was grieving. So I was told that there's no right or wrong way to grieve, so this is what I did, and that's good. I mean, obviously, right? I mean, that's not going to work. The way I look at it is there's no right way or wrong way to grieve unless what you're doing is destructive to yourself and to your family, to your friends, to people around you. And that's what I was falling into, a lifestyle that was very destructive for myself, which ended up in rehab, divorce, all kinds of ugly stuff, because I was finding negative ways to fill in the hole of losing my boys, whereas I needed to find positive ways. And like I said, I either didn't have someone or I was rejecting everyone who wanted to help me. And that's where it put me.
Yeah. So it sounds like finding your own support system was the first step to realizing that you also wanted to be the support system for other people.
Absolutely.
So what did that journey look like? I imagine it wasn't just an overnight thing. Now I know how to heal my grief. I can help other people heal their grief. Like, what was that evolution?
Well, for me, ultimately, it was, Cal, I mean, I was in my 30s. I had ruined everything where I was in Oregon. And it took my parents putting me in their truck, driving me out to Boise, Idaho, which is where I live now, and basically dropping me off and saying, this is your apartment. This is your new job. You need to straighten some stuff out. And it broke my mom's heart. I mean, absolutely. Broke my dad's, broke mine. But that's what it took. And then I started over again. And I met my wife. She's in the other room. Amazing, wonderful, beautiful woman who has guided me and helped me and taken care of me and pointed out when I was starting to do something stupid, which is what I needed at the time. I hope that answers what you're asking.
So your family acted as your support system back when you needed someone and didn't really know it. And then did you seek out some other forms of counseling or therapy or coaching that really started to show you that this was a career path that you wanted to turn down? So that's the dot I want to connect is like, when did this become a viable option for you?
I guess I'll just throw it out there. It's almost embarrassing. It's almost embarrassing. COVID hit, right? And we were all stuck at home. We couldn't do anything. And everybody was talking about TikTok. Everybody's talking TikTok. And I'm thinking, I'm download it, put it on my phone, and I'll start checking it out. What is it? What's so funny about this? So I did that. And then it was never going to make a video. That's so stupid. I'm never going to make a video. A couple weeks went by, and of course, I made my first video. But I started using TikTok to express my grief, right? And to express my feelings of loss and survivor's guilt, what was my biggest one. And I found that as I continued to walk down that road, other people who were suffering as well were starting to send me messages and were commenting on all of my stuff, saying, Lenny, thank you so much. You're saying all the things that I want to say, and I don't know how to say these things. And my account started growing, very quickly. Well, and we've talked about it before. I'm over 250,000 followers on all of my social media, and most of that's from TikTok. That's where I get my business. That's where I get most of the people that I talk to as far as that counsel me. But it was that made me start thinking, I can do something here because I have a way to communicate, my feelings and things I've learned and whatnot that grabs people that I don't even know. People that have only seen my content one time, and now they're sending me a message saying, you know how to say what I'm trying to say. It's kind of where it went, and it snowballed from there.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is you finding a creative outlet was actually the first step towards starting to heal some of the things inside, and then also shift the narrative from victim to being in a place of empowerment and being able to actually alchemize the pain into something that serves other people. So
I like that. Do I get a transcript of us talking? Because I like how you said that. I need to write that down. That was
no, but there will be a recording, and you can go access it. Anyone can access it at theprofitablecoach.com. So we'll make sure and get that up.
It's funny, though, that you say I sought a creative outlet to express my grief, because in my coaching, I use illustrations and art projects and creative stuff with my clients all the time. That's like the focus of the stuff that we do. It's not a talking head to you, right? And you're talking back to me. I mean, we're like doing projects together. So never really put that together, but I think you're right. That's what worked for me, and that's how I coach.
So we'll get to your unique methodology and your approach in a moment, but I'm curious, what was the tipping point from this is just a place that I am sharing authentically and starting to see some momentum? It's actually helping people to someone just paid me to help them with this. What was the first client like?
My first client? My first client was like, holy shit. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Didn't mean to swear on your show. Is that okay? I'm so sorry. I'll pay attention to it. Sorry. It was, oh my gosh, they're paying me to walk them through this and to show them the things that I've learned. And it was at that point, and it was very, very minimal, but it was at that point, it was like, I think I can do something with this. And so I began to make curriculum, right? I began to be on more and more podcasts, and I began to continue growing a following. And then my first, shameless plug. Okay, here we go. Here's your shameless plug for Coaching with Confidence, right? Your program. Yes. Not being paid to talk about this at all.
Yay, well, thank you.
Yeah, there you go. It was the Coaching with Confidence program that really made me start thinking that I can really start to do something with this. And it was there that you had challenged me to double my prices, right? And still I have clients that tell me I don't charge enough, which is crazy because I feel like I charge a lot. But you also said, what do you want to do next, Lenny? And I'm like, well, I want to do coaching, and maybe public speaking would be kind of cool. And I said, TED Talk would be fun. And you were like, do it. I was like, oh man, that's a little much, but I did. I applied and I was accepted, and I spoke at the Idaho State University at their TEDx. So thank you to you for encouraging me and giving me confidence to do that. So
I take full credit, obviously.
There you go. Obviously, yeah.
So I love hearing that having a container like CCA, having a community, having accountability was pivotal in pushing you from I'm doing this for the sake of my own healing to Oh, okay. Actually, I'm legit and people can pay me. They're willing to pay me. Let me start to act legit and maybe
Yeah.
create some offerings and a curriculum. But I still want to know that very first client. How did it look? Were they just
How did
like,
it look?
take my money, Lenny? Or did you already have a sense then that you wanted to value
No.
the work that you were doing?
So I already had a sense of what it was I wanted to do, and I had a sense in my mind of what it was worth, right? Um, but again, you had said, Lenny, that's not enough, right? You're not doing enough for everything which you've created and is a part of.
Mm.
The first, I mean, we'll go this way. I had a lot of one-offs, right? People that would just want to get together and talk, and they would pay me. But when I decided that I don't want to do that, I want to put together a program that's a certain amount of weeks. My first client, once I did that, was actually a retired, I'm trying to think what the word is, trauma therapist, I guess, basically, who kind of worked in my field. And it was crazy because we met several times before she told me that, right? And so immediately I'm now feeling inferior because she's up here. She's got, it was what she did all of her, professional career. But as I was helping her, she was continuing to help me refine my curriculum, saying, Lenny, that was a really, really good lesson. And she and I are still friends, right? We haven't coached together in a while now, but she still reaches out and says, hey, what are you working on and whatnot? And so you ask about my first big one, right? My first big one turned out to be the person that helped me the most, the person that took what I had and told me, Lenny, that's amazing. What can we do to take it one more step? So I was helping her, but she in turn was helping me.
Almost like a little angel on your path.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
That was my big one. Yeah.
I feel like I already have a sense of what your answer to this will be, but
Okay.
I'm curious how coaching has transformed your life, not just the lives of your clients, but your own life.
Okay. That's an excellent question. I've actually been asked that several times. This is, of course, obviously, with the nature of my niche, I guess. I hate that word, but it's true. I focus on grief, mostly child loss. I have done spouse and grandparents and stuff like that. My niche becomes very heavy, right? Not to downplay any other niches, because I don't, but my niche is not how to find financial success, right? It's not, what's the one? I even thought about this question before I came, and I had an answer that sounded so intelligent. So we'll just drop it. We'll just go.
Just speak from your heart. How has it changed your life?
It helps me to help people, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It's a struggle sometimes because I'm taking on so much from other people in their grief, right? Yeah. But I have ways to release that as well, which we can talk about that if you'd like to. But
yeah, I would love to hear that. I mean, this is one of the things that as an Enneagram 7, quote unquote, professional hype woman who can go to the dark places, but also really enjoys being in the lighter, flavors of coaching. I've wondered how people who help with trauma informed therapy or grief counselors, how you live in that and don't take on so much that it impacts your life in a negative way.
So it's very, very easy when you're coaching an ugly situation to take some of it on. This is something that my wife and I talked about a long time ago when we decided that this was something I was going to do. And I have a counselor that I go to talk about this stuff with them. And I've told you how awesome my wife is, right? What's really cool about my wife is that she goes with me, you know, and sorry. That's what's so awesome about my wife, is that the counseling's for me, but she goes and sits there, right?
It's beautiful.
And the counselor's not necessarily talking to her, right? But she's there holding my hand and walking me through it. So it's a pretty cool thing.
So having a counselor is, sounds like the key way that you allow yourself to not carry these things day to day and to really have an outlet to go release it.
Well, yeah. And the thing is that I have colleagues that work in the same space that I do. And they have counselors and coaches that they work with outside of their own stuff as well. So I'm not the only one. I can tell you that. I'm the only one in my space. Yeah.
I would even venture to say that any person, whether they are a counselor or a coach, would do to have some form of support system, whether that is a therapist or a coach or a combination of both. You might even have a coach for your relationships, and then you have a coach for your business. You have a coach for your mindset. Maybe someone can provide all of that in one, but it's almost impossible to think that we can stay in a place of space holder without someone else holding space for us. It's a lot to carry.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm curious, what has been the most challenging part for you about growing your coaching business?
Oh, man. I built my business off of social media, right? And as we all know, social media, you've got your keyboard warriors, you know, they sit back behind the keyboard and they say some ugly stuff, right? My coaching business was growing very well. Leaps and bounds, we'll say, right? It was very successful. And then I had some people come forward and say that I was using the death of my children to make a dollar. And that really hurt. And that shut me down for a while. It's stuff like that that hurts my business, right? It's not my email stopped working, my website went down for a day, you know, stuff like that. It's not those kinds of things. My space is extremely sensitive and very personal. It's very, very personal. And so when you get attacked like that, sometimes it gets hard. It's not the worst that's ever happened to me through the social media stuff, but that did slow me down. Slow me down a lot.
One of the things I often tell my clients and students is if you don't have any haters, you're not being loud enough. And it's a strong psyche, like a really strong psyche, to be ready for some of those things. And there's a world in which you could have a referral only coaching business and you have no social presence and everything's word of mouth. If that's a route that you as in the proverbial you feel inclined to pursue, you're like, I don't want to do social media the way Lenny's done it, doesn't align for me, I would never want to have a TikTok, I'm not strong enough to deal with haters. That's okay, there are other routes, right? Like Absolutely. This is one route, and yet so many pros as well. Like you're able to have a much greater reach than someone who's
today's the 13th. As of recording, it's the 13th. What is it, the 19th? I won't have that anymore. If TikTok goes away, I won't have that. So I've got to figure out something else, which is something that you said in a program that you work with.
Yes.
How do you call it? The not having Instagram.
Yeah, we can link that up in the show notes as well. Break up with Instagram. How 100 plus ways to market your business off of social media.
Look at that. I pushed your business twice. Twice I did. And you didn't ask me to. Okay.
Maybe he's the new professional hype person here.
There you go.
So on the
No, I
flip
don't.
side of that
Yeah.
same coin, what is the
Mhm.
most fulfilling thing that you have gotten to experience since
Oh,
putting yourself out there and deciding that you wanted to coach people?
there's there's so many. I love when someone comes to me and they're just broken, right? They it's just things are just so hard. And I push in my coaching program what I like to call good grief. Rather than just grief, it's called good grief, where we find happy moments, right? And memories and whatnot to help with the ugly grief. And that's one of my favorite things when it finally clicks that there is good stuff out there in grief. There can be. You just have to find it. And some people find it easier than others, right? And some people it's really, really hard, but it is possible. And we can talk more about that as well if you'd like. But good grief. That's my favorite thing, seeing people finally get that click. On top of that, my favorite thing is when people say, Lenny, I love the time that we've spent together. I get it. I understand it. I want to do what you do. And then we start talking about what that looks like. And I'm not saying I coach people to be me or anything like that, but that's always a neat thing. Well, Kimberly, you've had that, right? You've had people come to you and say, I want to do what you do. How does that make you feel? I mean, your heart wants to explode, right?
I think that, so just going back to the good grief thing for a quick second.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I would yes, it is incredibly fulfilling when people say, I love what I've gotten to experience inside your containers. I want to create my version of that. And that's sort of how I transitioned into business or personal branding coaching way back in the day. At first, I was just helping people to be brave. Like that was be bold, be brave, be assertive, be direct, be audacious. Like that was the flavor of my coaching. So I can definitely resonate with that. But in terms of the good grief thing, can you give me an example of what that experience is like for a client when they transition from feeling like their grief is quote unquote ugly to what is the shift?
Okay. Well, one of the things that I do is called a good grief box. Okay. It's a good grief box. This is where we take something that your child would have been into and make it into a memory. And I can show you mine if you'd like. I actually brought it to show. Are you asking to see it? I can
It's
show
a
you
physical
mine.
box.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So
Well,
my boys, huh?
I want to know.
Yeah.
I want to see your box for sure. And I want to know, like, what is the transformation that someone gets by having created their box? Yeah.
Oh, no. You'll see it. You'll see. I'll show you. Okay. My boys were into Legos, right? That was their thing. They loved Legos. My oldest boy, Dawson, was into Lego robotics. And that's where it's Legos, but it has a computer, right? And you program the computer and then it like does things. And he would do competitions. And he was 9 years old and he went to state in Lego robotics. Is that crazy or what? It's like, it's super, super smart thing. So what happens is when I get together with my clients, I say, I want to find something, a container of some kind that would identify with your child. So mine is a Lego.
Amazing.
Okay? A giant Lego.
That is so cool.
You can open it, and inside I have memories. Okay. So you asked, how does it help, right? What is something? Let me show you something that's in my box. This is a peanut M&Ms bag, right? We were at a Lego competition and Dawson was doing his thing. And Devin, my youngest, came to me and he wanted M&Ms. So we went, got some candy, we're sharing them. And I was a stinker and I ate the last one. And he came to me and he said, that he wanted another M&M. So I handed him the package. He looks in it and he says, "It's empty." And he goes to give it back to me. And I said, whoa, you touched it last. You need to throw it away. Like a good dad would do. You need to throw it away. When we got home that night, I found the M&M package in my pocket. And I took it out and I went straight to his bedroom and I said, "Hey, you were supposed to throw this away." And he said, "You touched it last. You got to throw it away." So it became a game. I'd put it, in his underwear drawer. And then a few days later, I'd find it underneath my pillow, right? It went back and forth. Then we had the accident and my boys passed. And a few weeks later, I found this underneath a bunch of my socks. This is a good grief memory. And the reason why it's a good grief memory is because I can look at this and I can say, I can never eat peanut M&Ms again because they remind me of Devin. Right? I could do that. Or I can look at the peanut M&Ms and I can say, remember that day when we were at the Lego competition and he wanted M&Ms and I was a stinker and I ate the last one, and it started a game and we started doing it back and forth, back and forth. Those were good days. Those were good grief. Those were days that meant something to him and meant something to me. Good grief is a flip of the brain, and it's a flip of a memory, and stopping it at, I can never eat this again, this always makes me sad. Stop it at, this was a good day. That's what good grief is. And in my box, I have stuff that my boys made for me, right? Keychains and things like that. This is a letter, and I won't read it to you. This is mine, okay? I'm not going to read this to you. One of my clients asked me to read my boy's favorite bedtime story, to come to her class and read favorite bedtime story. And of course, she's on the East Coast, so I had to do it through Zoom. But afterwards, I got an envelope in the mail with a handwritten note from every child that watched me read that to them. And then this is a letter that she wrote to me about how special it was for her kids. And that my boys meant a lot to everything that happened there. And so even though this is my good grief box, this is something positive I was able to do with something of my boys that was their favorite. So it goes in the box. And when I'm having a bad day, I open up the box and I pull things out, like the M&Ms, right? This is one of the things that I do. And I may have talked about it too long, and I'm sorry about that. I think
people listening to this who are craving some sort of technique probably got a lot of value out of that. One of the things that you said that really stood out, though, is the benefit that the class got from hearing your story and you coming in and kind of perpetuating your son's legacy. And I think
good work.
Yeah, I think that is one of the most important jobs of a coach, is really helping people to alchemize the stuff that has happened into something really beautiful. And so when we look back at the people who sent you those nasty messages on TikTok, I'm sort of the mind that things out in our external world are just a reflection of what's going on internally. So perhaps there was a part of you that felt guilty about sharing your son's story. And like, what a beautiful opportunity to move
Yeah.
through that, because
Yeah.
there's a much greater part of you that says, no, I'm helping people because of what I've been through, instead of carrying it around and not letting it be something beautiful, because at one point it was something really hard.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
Yeah. And your mess is your message. You've probably heard that before. And if we can like lean into that concept when people pop up and they are reflecting back to us little stories that we may or may not be carrying, that can be the most powerful way to keep showing up in service in spite of what other people have to say about what we're doing. Not everyone's going to resonate with light or love if they're not a match to that.
No, I would agree.
I'm curious how you responded to those individuals.
I
think you don't have to answer.
Okay, so well, my wife says, or what she would say is, tell me who those people are, and I'll get that taken care of. That's my wife. She loves me. She wants to protect me. Me, I look at it differently. That person has enough pain in their life that for me to come along and cause an issue wouldn't be a good thing to do. So I let those things go. I can't represent my boys in a large platform like that and be ugly.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it. You said legacy was the word that you used. I don't want to do anything that would tarnish that legacy. I don't want to have a message of positivity and support and good grief, right? But then have someone turn and go, see, he's no different than anybody else. Look at him, right? And then he's just doing it to get $1. I don't want that. I don't want that at all. That's the last thing I want. That would be, I've actually said this before, that would be an insult to the memory of my boys. And that's the last thing. Nobody wants to insult someone that they've lost, whether that be through their actions, things that they do, or the words, the things that they say. Last thing you want to do is ever diminish that or disrespect those that you've lost.
Yeah. I'm curious if you have worked with people in reference to grief, but not necessarily death, because their grief comes in many forms. We grieve people who are alive still all the time. And what, if any, difference there is between your approach to someone who's like lost someone to death or someone who is grieving something that may still exist.
Okay. So you opened up a huge can, okay? Because grief is everywhere. Grief is all over everything. It's not just losing a child or a parent or a grandparent, a sibling, a partner. We could, people close to you, but it's a pet. There's some people where it's devastating to them. I can tell you, Hudson is my dog. He's amazing. He's 100 pounds, a black lab. He cuddles like there's no tomorrow, right? All he wants to do is hang out with me. And I love him dearly. He's like my best friend next to my wife. He's my best friend. And if something was to happen to him, I would just be utterly destroyed. So that is a very, very real thing. And if anyone's listening or watching and they have a pet, they know exactly what I'm talking about. Pets are amazing. But it doesn't stop there either. I've seen people grieve financially, right? They had to claim bankruptcy, and now they're in a spot where they're not living the life that they had before. They can't buy the things that they could before. And now what they're grieving is a lifestyle, right? And that's a very, very real thing. A job. Some people will grieve. I loved being in charge, right? Or I loved having a team of people that worked for me, those types of things. Or even I just loved having a job, and then they lose it, right? There's grief in that too. There's grief in everything. Your favorite car, now you lost it, right? All that kind of stuff. I've not worked with anyone in that scenario. I've only worked with people who've lost people, whether that be a mother, a partner, a child. I would work with someone, but I don't know that that would be my expertise. So
Yeah.
I would meet with them a couple of times, and if it just wasn't a fit, or if I just felt like I couldn't do anything, I would refer them out. That's what I would do, just because I know that I'm not the one to help them.
It sounds like your natural expression of your own experience has just pulled people to you that resonate with that very specific story. And this is why I tell people all the time, you are the niche. We had a whole coffee hour
Mhm.
chat about it here
Yeah.
in Transformation Academy, because by embracing your unique experiences, your personality, the hard things you've been through, and just being transparent about that, you're naturally going to magnetize the people who can learn from your unique expertise. So is there a world in which you help people in variations of grief in the future? Probably, maybe.
Yeah.
But for now, what
Yeah.
you're doing is working.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm curious, in addition to TikTok, if there's any other strategies that you've used to get clients.
Well, of course, other social medias and whatnot I've tried, just not as been as successful there.
Okay.
Word of mouth, obviously, is always a big hit. But mostly for me, that's where it's worked, out of social media.
Beautiful. Yeah. And I mean, it sounds like this has only been going on for a few years, like since COVID started. So really not that long. I'm curious what advice you would give to yourself when you were first starting out.
Oh, you're not alone. All of the struggles of doubt, imposter syndrome, all of those types of things are normal. It's a part of the gig, and it's a part of starting at zero and getting to wherever you end up going. It's just what it is. And there's a lot of people out there that'll try to take advantage of you as you begin to grow. They'll want to either jump on and go with you, or well, I learned that you don't have to spend $6,000 to have somebody design a website for you. I learned that, which is
so the advice is what is the advice?
What's the advice?
Yeah, it sounded more like a warning.
Do more research. There you go. Is that fair? Is that fair?
I would also encourage everyone to go listen to the Juan Bandana episode of the Profitable Coach podcast. He gives a nice pep talk about what you do and do not need to get started, and the things that a lot of new coaches waste time and money on. So we'll have that linked up in the show notes as well. Yeah. What's that?
I would agree with that. There's definitely things that I got involved in the very beginning that I did not need. I absolutely didn't need.
Yeah. So, and often it's under the guise of, I see other people have this, so I must need to have this, or I have resistance to doing the thing that's actually going to move the needle. So instead, I'm going to focus my time and energy on all these other things that make me look really busy, but aren't actually coaching, when getting out there and just being of service is probably the thing that will move the needle the most.
Well, you just brought something out that I'm glad you did, because I get a lot of people that will come to me and say, Lenny, I want a social media presence. How do I do TikTok? How do I do the YouTube videos that you do? Because I don't know how to do it. My answer is, then don't do it, because YouTube takes so much time, and TikTok takes a lot of time as well. If you want to do good, if you just want to go throw up a bunch of stuff, throw it out there and whatever, then fine. But if you want to make good content that actually draws people, then it takes time and it takes work. And if you have no idea how to do it, focus on something you do know how to do. TikTok worked for me because it just made sense, right? It just made sense. And I think that people get caught up in, I'll just make videos and do all this fun stuff, and I'll go viral and that'll change everything. And then I'll be famous. I'll make all kinds of money, but that's not true. There's so many formulas that you have to know and understand to make any traction. And the problem is they constantly change because they're always moving. So you have to know those things too. There's so much to it to understand and to do it right. And one viral video ain't going to do nothing. It ain't going to do nothing.
Well, and I think that one of the biggest misnomers is that followers equals dollars, which isn't true, because you could have a viral video that grows your account, but if you aren't making clear offers designed for your ideal client, then no one's clear on how to put their money in your pocket and how to work with you. So there's other things that are really important. All right, Lenny, I've got one last question for you. For the sake of impact our beautiful community here at Transformation Academy, we want to know, what is the impact that you want to make on this world?
Okay. I want people who've lost people in their lives to know that they're not alone. I want them to know that there is a right way and a wrong way to grieve. There truly is. If you're doing something destructive to you, your friends, your family, people around you, it's not the right way to grieve. I want people to know that grief doesn't have to be bad. It's ugly. I mean, grief is truly ugly, but there is such a thing as good grief, and that's happy. And it is possible. It truly is possible. But most importantly, you're not alone. That was my issue when I was first going through grief, was that I thought I was alone. You're not.
Beautiful. Well, where can people go find you and get more of you online?
Well, you can find me many places. You can go to lennyhuntcoaching.com and to find everything that I do. If you were to go to YouTube, you could go to Grief 101, where I kind of break down what grief is. TikTok, the Lenny Hunt. That's I went real inventive on that one. The Lenny Hunt. Yeah, perfect. That's kind of it. Instagram, but don't go there yet. I'm still working on that.
Well, we'll have all of these linked up in the show notes, so don't fret if you didn't write them down. Thank you to all of our live viewers who watched this interview live here in the Impact Coaching community. We will have everything over at theprofitablecoach.com. And Lenny, thank you again for your time. It was great to get to connect and to hear some of your beautiful tools.
Yeah, absolutely. Can we pinky swear that we'll do it again?
Yeah.
Pinky swear?
Virtual pinky swear.
There we go. Yeah, pinky swear. Okay, can't break the pinky swear. All right.
All right, everyone. Have a beautiful day. Thank you so much. And we'll catch you on the next episode. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much to Lenny and to everyone inside of our Impact Coaching Collective who tuned in live to watch this interview inside of our community. If you want to get access to any of the resources that we talked about on today's show, or you just want to find out where to go network and engage with Lenny, then head over to theprofitablecoach.com/064. There we'll have everything linked up in the show notes. And if you're interested in joining our community, you can also get a really special limited time offer, access to the community at a discount that you can't get anywhere else. So with that, we are so excited to bring you even more of these behind the scenes interviews with our members, and we hope to see you on next week's episode of the Profitable Coach Podcast.